The Tesla Model X purred silently down the dimly lit streets outside SpaceX headquarters, its headlights carving through the California night. Elon Musk sat at the wheel, half driving, half solving 10 different problems in his head. His mind ticked through an endless list: Raptor engine updates, Starlink expansion, a Tesla recall, some Twitter nonsense. His brain never really switched off. He didn't have time for that. The car's autopilot was engaged, but Elon still kept his fingers near the wheel. His faith in AI was strong, but the world was unpredictable. And, as if on cue, the unexpected happened. A mass of people surged onto the road ahead. Elon's foot instinctively hovered over the brake, but the car reacted first. Emergency stop engaged. The Model X lurched to a sudden halt. A crowd of at least 24 activists stood directly in his path, blocking the entire road. Bright neon safety vests, ragged bandanas, mismatched beanies, the look of a movement that had just left a climate protest and decided it wasn't done yet. They moved with purpose. Signs shot up. Angry voices rose. No more rockets. No more lies. Musk destroys the planet right before our eyes. For a moment, Elon just stared. His first thought: great. Another Thursday. The Tesla's headlights illuminated a mess of cardboard signs, all scrawled in thick black marker. Tesla equals lies. Mars is a billionaire's escape plan. No more space pollution. One of them jumped onto the curb, waving his arms wildly. You think you're saving the world, Musk, he yelled. You're one of the worst offenders. And we're here to stop you. Elon exhaled. He had too much to do for this. His window glided down smoothly. You're blocking an electric car, he called out. Just pointing that out. A tall woman with piercing blue eyes and an intense expression stepped forward. She looked like she could have been a college professor, or maybe the kind of person who had read the Communist Manifesto one too many times. This isn't about your car, she snapped. It's about you. You hide behind electric vehicles, but your rockets are poisoning the atmosphere. Your lithium mines are gutting the planet. And your Starlink satellites? Just more space junk choking the sky. More voices piled on. A bearded man in a hemp jacket stepped closer. You pretend to be a climate hero, but you're just another billionaire using up the world's resources for profit. Elon sighed, rubbing his eyes. Okay, he muttered. Here we go. The chants intensified. No Musk. No more greed. This planet is all we need. They tightened their formation. Elon checked his mirrors. No way around them. Great. A few cars behind him honked, frustrated. A man in a Prius stuck his head out. Move it. Some of us have actual jobs. The activists ignored him. They were focused entirely on Elon Musk. One of them, a younger guy with wire-rimmed glasses and an air of self-importance, stepped forward. You're not going anywhere until you face the truth, he declared. Elon gave a slow nod. Right. And what truth is that? The truth that you and your companies are ruining the planet, the guy shot back. Elon tilted his head. Huh. Okay. Counterpoint. Before he could finish, someone slammed their hands onto the hood of the Tesla. Thud. Elon blinked. That's unnecessary. More shouting. More fists in the air. Someone was filming. Of course they were. This was going viral in minutes. Elon took a deep breath, tapping his fingers against the steering wheel. He had things to do. Tesla software updates. SpaceX launch coordination. Memes to post. Instead, he was here, in the middle of a makeshift climate protest targeting him personally. And now, he had a new mission: getting these activists to listen. He cracked his knuckles. All right, he muttered. Let's do this. The chanting intensified, bouncing off the buildings and filling the empty streets. No Musk. No more greed. This planet is all we need. The tall woman in the beanie stepped forward, eyes flashing. You act like you're some kind of visionary, but you're one of the worst polluters alive. Elon tilted his head. Is that so? You personally contribute to climate destruction, she continued, voice rising with each word. SpaceX burns insane amounts of fuel every time you launch a rocket. Your electric cars require lithium mining, which is just another form of environmental destruction. And you, sell the idea that humanity should abandon Earth instead of fixing it." The crowd roared in agreement. Elon exhaled slowly. He had heard these arguments before. They were oversimplified, missing key details, but they were rooted in something real. But these people didn't want a conversation. They wanted a villain. A younger activist, his curly hair tucked under a thrift store bucket hat, shoved his phone into Elon's face. The screen showed a NASA article on rocket emissions. "See this?" the guy spat. "You're dumping thousands of tons of CO2 into the air every time one of your precious rockets takes off." Elon sighed. "Okay. Quick physics lesson." "No excuses," someone shrieked. Elon ignored them. "Rockets burn fuel, yes. But you know what burns more than every SpaceX launch in an entire year?" The bucket hat guy blinked. "What?" Elon raised a finger. "1 afternoon of commercial airline flights. 1. That's tens of thousands of flights, running constantly, every single day." The crowd hesitated. "You're angry about space travel, but you flew here on a plane, right?" Elon gestured toward the hemp jacket guy. "Or do you travel exclusively by bicycle?" The man's mouth opened, then closed. "And lithium mining?" Elon continued. "Yeah, it's messy. But you're all tweeting about it from iPhones, which, by the way, use lithium batteries too. So unless you're willing to ditch your smartphones, laptops, and electric scooters, you might want to rethink this argument." The group shifted uncomfortably. The tall woman clenched her jaw. "That doesn't change the fact that you're a billionaire exploiting the planet." Elon shrugged. "I mean, would you rather BP and Shell do it?" "You think that justifies anything?" she snapped. "It just means," Elon said, "that we should look at the big picture." The bearded man in the hemp jacket shook his head violently. "No. This is exactly what billionaires do. You twist facts to justify your greed." Elon's patience was wearing thin. "Greed?" He let out a short, dry laugh. "Do you really think I'm doing this for money? SpaceX barely turns a profit. Tesla, that was weeks away from bankruptcy for years. I could have stayed on PayPal and made more money doing nothing." The activists didn't care. "You think you can talk your way out of this?" another one yelled. "You tell the world you're solving problems, but you're just creating new ones." Elon rubbed his temple. "All right, I'll bite. What's your solution, then?" The crowd went quiet. The bucket hat kid blinked. "What?" Elon folded his arms. "Let's say I shut down everything. No more SpaceX. No more Tesla. No Neuralink. No Starlink. What's your plan? How do you save the world?" The tall woman hesitated. We start by stopping pollution," she stammered. "Cool," Elon nodded. "What about shipping? Trucks? Planes? Factories? The global power grid? Do we just turn it all off tomorrow?" She flushed. "No, but you know what happens if we do." Elon continued. "The entire supply chain collapses. Supermarkets run out of food in days. No more medicine. No more power in hospitals. No clean drinking water for cities." The crowd wasn't ready for this debate. "That's just fear-mongering," the bearded man shouted. "You make it sound like we have no choice." "I'm saying," Elon shot back, "we need a transition plan. And that's exactly what I'm building." The bucket hat kid crossed his arms. "Yeah, right." Elon pointed at him. "Do you even know how much CO2 Tesla has prevented from being released?" Silence. 85 million metric tons. The group shifted. "And SpaceX?" Elon continued. "If we can refuel in orbit, we won't need to launch nearly as often. If we can make rocket fuel on Mars, we won't have to send tankers from Earth." The bucket hat kid frowned. "Wait. You're talking about making fuel?" Elon nodded. "With CO2 from the atmosphere and hydrogen from water." The woman in the beanie narrowed her eyes. "That's not happening now." Elon exhaled. "Neither were electric cars, until I built Tesla." The group didn't know how to respond. But they weren't backing down. The chanting started up again. Lies. Greenwashing. Earth is dying. Stop the launching. The Prius driver honked again. Get out of the way, he yelled. Other cars joined in. A few drivers got out. What the hell is this? One man growled. Move. A woman leaned out of her SUV. Some of us have to pick up our kids. The protesters stood their ground. Elon leaned back in his seat. He could see the tension rising. The public wasn't on their side anymore. And these activists were running out of time. The protesters weren't listening. Elon had tried. He had explained the science, the numbers, the reality. But these people weren't here for a conversation. They wanted a spectacle. And now, they were starting to lose control of it. More drivers were getting angry. A man in a Toyota Camry threw his hands up. I gotta get home, man. A woman leaned out of her minivan, shouting, I have 2 kids in here. Move. More honking. More frustration. But the activists held their ground. The tall woman in the beanie turned to Elon, her expression fierce. You can't just buy your way out of this, Musk. Elon sighed. I'm not trying to buy anything. I'm trying to fix things. By escaping to Mars, she sneered. Leaving the rest of us to die. Elon blinked. You think that's what I'm doing? She jabbed a finger at him. That's exactly what you're doing. Elon rubbed his forehead. He had heard this before. The idea that he was some cartoon supervillain trying to build a billionaire escape hatch while Earth burned. It was insane. If I wanted to run away, he said flatly, Mars wouldn't be my first choice. The crowd faltered. You ever been in space? Elon asked, raising an eyebrow. You know what it's like. Silence. You want to know what Mars is like? It's hell. It's -80 degrees. No oxygen. Radiation that'll fry you alive. If your suit rips, you're dead in seconds. The bucket hat kid swallowed hard. Elon gestured at the ground beneath them. You're standing on paradise. The bearded man scoffed. Then why are you so obsessed with leaving? Elon's voice hardened. Because Earth won't be paradise forever. The words hung in the air. The protesters weren't expecting that answer. But before any of them could respond, a driver snapped. A man in a Honda Civic kicked open his door and stormed toward the protesters. Move. The hell out of the way. The activists turned toward him, startled. Go back to your yoga class or whatever, the man growled. Some of us actually work for a living. Hey, buddy, the bearded protester started. But the Civic driver was done talking. He grabbed the nearest protester sign and ripped it in half. The activists gasped. "HEY!" someone shouted. A second driver got out. A third. Elon saw it happening in real time. The protesters had pushed too far. The crowd was turning against them. The Prius driver, the same guy who had been honking for 10 minutes, shoved his way forward. "We're sick of you clowns. You don't speak for any of us." The beanie woman stepped back. "We have the right to protest." "You don't have the right to block the damn road," the Prius driver shouted back. A car behind them revved its engine. Someone threw a water bottle. The protesters flinched. The crowd was unraveling. Elon watched it all unfold. The shift. The protesters had started this thinking they were heroes. But now, they were just a public nuisance. The world wasn't cheering for them. It was laughing at them. One of the activists, a younger guy with a ponytail, grabbed the beanie woman's arm. "I think we should go." Her jaw tightened. "No," she hissed. "We stand our ground." The Prius driver stepped closer. "Stand your ground?" "Lady, this isn't a battlefield. It's a damn intersection. Move." The beanie woman looked at the mob forming around her. At the angry faces. The growing hostility. This wasn't what she had planned. Elon could see the fear creeping in. She knew it too. She had lost. She turned to the activists. "Fall back." The group hesitated. "Now," she barked. The protesters began to retreat. The jeering started. Yeah, that's right. Walk away. Idiots. Go glue yourselves to a Starbucks or something. The beanie woman's face burned red. She had wanted a fight. But not like this. Not public humiliation. Not this kind of failure. Elon watched them go. He didn't cheer. Didn't smirk. He just let them leave. Because he knew they weren't the real enemy. The real battle was still ahead. The battle to save Earth. And Elon Musk wasn't giving up. Not now. Not ever. The protesters scattered. One by one, they peeled away from the road, shuffling back onto the sidewalk, some clutching their torn signs, others just trying to keep their heads down. Their faces burned with humiliation. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. They had wanted to make a statement, to put Elon Musk in the spotlight as the villain of the climate crisis. Instead, they were the ones being run off the street. The beanie woman lingered for a moment, jaw tight, fists clenched. She looked back at Elon, then at the furious crowd of drivers, then back at her own people, activists who now just wanted to get away from this disaster. She exhaled shakily and finally turned away, disappearing into the night. It was over. The road was clear. One by one, the drivers got back into their cars. The Prius guy, still fuming, rolled down his window. About time. A few cars honked in celebration. Elon just sat there, watching the last of the protesters fade into the darkness. Then, he exhaled. And finally drove forward.